So this video I'm making simply because I can't seem to get any service in this room, so I'm kind of stuck here with a phone that's not refreshing anything. So I figured I'd just make a video. But I'm listening to people talk about the COVID-19 as usual, same old stuff. And, well, I just don't want to be wrong, as I mentioned in the video that I made yesterday. And I've already extended my thoughts in regards to what I think we should do, whether we believe in this thing or not. We just got to protect ourselves. 'Cause at the end of the day, you're weaponizing yourself when you don't take precautions and are infected. And it's not going to let you know if you're infected or not sometimes. Some people are just asymptomatic. And I believe that it's designed that way, whether it be divine or in a lab somewhere, so that it can continue to sustain. Because if it infected everybody the same way, it's very easy to tell who's infected and isolate them. That's why I think this is, I don't know. My mother used to talk about chemical warfare and things of that nature, and this just feels like that. Granted, I don't know enough to know whether or not this is normal for bacteria or whatever this entity is, but to me it seems like the defense mechanism for it to live in people's bodies without affecting them is smart. That's very, very evolved, and that's not something that average viruses do, to my knowledge. If you got the flu, you're gonna feel like you have the flu. If you got some sexually transmitted disease, it's gonna show up. It may take some time, it may lay dormant for a while, but eventually you will see and know that you have it, and feel some kind of way because of it. This thing, you could have COVID and you will not have, it will be no differences. Some people just won't be affected at all. Some people are affected ever so slightly. You may have a little bit of a headache for a day, maybe a little out of breath for like a day and a half, and then you just go back to your regular life. Other people, this thing hits and it does a million different things to them, including making them not be able to smell, taste, breathe. Feels like something's sitting on their chest. They're heaving and hawing and not being able to really catch their breath at any given moment. It does things to your organs. It does things to different aspects of your body that I don't even know about. So many different various things that this thing can do. Or it may do nothing at all just to keep itself alive and continue to pass it through individuals. That's why it's so important that all of us assume that we have it in our systems by wearing these masks. And I've talked to some conspiracy theorists, and people are talking about, they're using words like tyranny and forcing us to wear masks and sheep and all these different things. And that's cool, that's fine. But the problem with people like that a lot of the time is they apply it to everything. They think that the government is 100% always doing something. And while they may be, that doesn't mean that you, who is thinking that, is 100% right yourself. You may be wrong about this one. This is not the one to be wrong about. That's all I'm saying. A lot of people have conspiracy theories and they live by these conspiracy theories, and they don't think the world moves normally ever. They think everybody who dies is sacrificed. They think everybody who's is telling you anything on national media is lying to you, or has a different agenda, or is up to something of some sort. And I'm saying, in order for one to exist, the other probably does as well. Have some balance about how you view these things. Don't assume everything is anything. I don't assume that everything that the government is doing is on the up and up. And you conspiracy theorists need to not assume that everything that's going on is a conspiracy. Because the world doesn't work like that all the time. If things were that simple to grasp, we wouldn't be so confused as a society, humans. Understand this. Nothing is as consistent as you would like it to be in your mind. You create ways of understanding things by accepting certain confusion a lot of times. This is what I've noticed about people. We settle into things that don't quite add up. We just stop thinking at certain points because we get enough to be happy with the results of what we've determined a lot of times. It's not like we have all our answers. We just accept the fact that there are some answers that we ain't going to get. We got enough, so we run with that. And that's not going to save everyone. That leaves room for you to be wrong And when you're wrong, bad things can happen. In this case, you got to weigh the risk versus the reward. Yes, could the government have some other means of killing people while trying to keep us wearing masks and having us playing musical chairs out here with our jobs? Yes. Is that possible? Sure, I can fathom such a thing. I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not an idiot. Only an idiot would live in 400 years of this country's history and then think that they're not capable of doing something awful now. Like, that's only a fool would do that. I'm not a fool. So I'm not a fool as well in this area. Somebody's telling me I can be weaponized and kill all of my loved ones just by breathing in their face. Maybe that person's full of shit. Do I want to risk the idea that they're full of shit? Risk my family's life on that idea? I'm gonna, like, my loved ones that I'm willing to do anything for. In this case, I'm not willing to put on a mask for them. A lot of times I don't think we even think past our noses. The same people that you are fighting to assure that they're fine, you breaking your neck to assure that they're okay, the same people that you say you love and will do anything for are the same people you are putting in danger with this COVID-19 bullshit because you think it's bullshit. People are going to die because of your nonsense. All this talk about your rights and your freedoms and all of this, you have a right to kill your own family with this COVID-19 bullshit. You have that right, ladies and gentlemen. If that's the right you want to fight for, you've got it. I think people see other people fighting, and this is my honest opinion. You don't have to follow me on this, but I think some people see other people fighting. They see the attention that people get for fighting, justice, for cries, signs of protesting, and they look into their own lives and they don't see a reason to do that. And because they don't see a reason to do that, and they're self-absorbed, and they only believe that they're the center of the universe, they shun any idea that comes against their own. And with that shunning of an idea that isn't their own, they will mock the protests that provide those differences in ideas. I don't have a reason to protest. My life is fine and I'm bored. So I'm going to protest the fact that this government of mine is telling me to put on a mask everywhere I go. I'm sick of it. I want my hair cut. I want to be able to go play golf. I want to be able to go into a movie theater. And this is horrible. The government is keeping me from doing these things. Why is the government keeping me from doing these things? Because there's a virus out there that can kill everybody. And we don't have any containment for it or even understand how it works. That part, you simply don't believe. Fine, you don't believe it. But the risk versus reward in regards to what you're doing doesn't add up. Why? Because you got to incorporate the bodies. If there were no deaths at all, hey, my argument doesn't hold any weight because no one's died. I'm just believing what the government's telling me. They're telling me to put on a mask, and I'm doing it, and it's them controlling me. There's no evidence of what they're saying to be true. What we have is evidence of two things: corruption within the numbers, because we know they've inflated the numbers in COVID. We know this. And you have to ask yourself why, and you haven't come up with an answer, so I get that. That's fuel for those who don't want to wear the mask. That's in your argument pile. I get it. But what about the bodies all over the world? What's going on in Italy? Explain to me why them people died. What's going on in New York? Explain to me why they had freezers outside of these places where they were holding people who were dying and tossing them in freezers. Big, huge, long 18-wheelers trucks with freezers, with bodies full of them in New York. Can you explain that to me? Do you just write that off? Because that's what I need to understand about you tyranny screamers, about this mask bullshit. What about the bodies? Because you don't have an answer for that. You stopped thinking at the part where people died from something. And you chose not to look at those deaths, but more so to look at your inconvenience feelings about having to wear masks, about having to not be able to get a haircut, about not having the right to something even more serious. Bury your family and loved ones because of this COVID thing. I get it. It's not just minor inconveniences, it's major ones. People's businesses are being torn apart because of this thing. People are being told to stay in the house when they have mental illnesses that need for social attention. I get it. There's real stuff going on. It's not just minor inconveniences. There's some major ones too. But guess what? Even so, if they go outside and try to live the way they want to live, and you're wrong about this virus being wrong, being real, or not real, to be clear, then guess what happens? They're affecting people, you're affecting people, and this virus continues to eat away at the human race. If you think this is bad now, when people are asking you to wear masks, how does it look 2 years from now if the virus is real in your minds? If the virus is what they say it is, or close to what they're telling us it is, 2 years from now, what do you think is going on? I need you tyranny screamers to think about that and tell me what it looks like in your minds. How many people have died from this 2 years from now if it is real? You're so worried about these today problems, these minor and major inconveniences of today. You're not realizing that if you're wrong, this could kill us all. If you're wrong, the only people alive to tell the story are the ones who are asymptomatic. And there's no guarantee they will be asymptomatic the second time around because we really don't know how this works. We literally have no idea how this works. All we know is that we continue to get more and more cases of people who have gotten this thing. Real, tangible humans that we love have died already. We know some in the music business or in the entertainment business and in our personal lives, somebody has lost somebody who's lost somebody. You're not too many steps away from a COVID loss at this point. So what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to sit here and pretend like this isn't real? Are we going to continue to follow people who are telling us to ignore the bodies that are piling up because of this thing? Because there are a lot of people out there who are going to continue to ignore the bodies until they see them with their own eyes. And then they're going to sit there like this with a dumb look on their face like, Those of us who are smarter than them can't afford to let them lead us to hell. Quite honestly. And those people who are trying to be super deep individuals who think that this is all some ploy to get Russia to have some stupid shit, whatever your mind is telling you, believe me when I tell you, and I had even checked myself about this one, COVID is not an American problem. I know in America we think we're the center of the world, and we think everything that goes on has to do with something to do with our money or our economy or our political system. I know COVID is killing people outside of these boundaries that we live in. Look at Italy. Italy ain't got shit to do with us in regards to our political system or any of that. And they lost a ton of people. Just about half of the elderly. It's gone. At some point in time, those of us who are so convinced that this thing isn't real have to start answering some of these questions that we have not answered within ourselves. Like, why is everybody dying? You give me proof that something other than COVID is effectively annihilating these people who have died. You give me proof that the traumas that these nurses and these hospital people working in these hospitals have faced is a figment of their imagination. You give me proof of that because they're handing me bodies to look at. They're handing me cases to look at. Not ones that have been inflated. Real ones. People who've, I've known people who've lost people. Explain to me why that young lady lost her father. Explain to me why that man lost his whole family. And now, close your eyes and imagine why someone a year and a half from now is going to lose their family because you didn't put on your mask. And the virus that was in your body skipped around a couple times and got to them. While you sitting up here complaining about the little shit that's going on in your world in this present moment that's fleeting, that's going to be gone quicker than you can say your name, you're causing pain for them that you can't even fathom or will never know about. Because you didn't put your damn mask on, you didn't make sure that you stayed your ass in the house, and now that virus is floating around well after it's left your body, well after whatever happens to you happens to you, and it's hitting them. When it could have been stopped with you. Same goes with other sexually transmitted diseases and wearing protection. Same thing. Causing pain for people that you can't foresee and never will be able to foresee. Because you just didn't want to put it on. Because you just decided you wanted to go to the grocery store and just be there. Do whatever you want without a mask. You're responsible for everyone else. Whether COVID is real or not, we are responsible for everybody. Everything we do is going to have some consequence for someone else down the road, whether you can see those consequences or they're unforeseeable. Have respect for the unknown and do not lose sight of what it is that you do not have proof for. Because you may be right about the government bullshitting, but if you're not right, it's going to cost people lives. More lives than ones that matter to you. BDF.